Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Energetics Podcast. I am your host, Kara Bunde-Dunn, and today we are going to be talking about gratitude. It is the week of Thanksgiving. If you're listening to this live in real time or close to when it released in the United States, it's a holiday where we recognize what we're thankful for, and it's also a bit of like the settling of the country. We won't get into the history and all of the other dark things that come with this holiday. We're instead going to rise up and see what can we do to be in gratitude as we move into this Thanksgiving season. And I want to say this time of year tends to be a time of year where we have a lot of duality, where we're like consuming a lot of food, a lot of presents, a lot of things, yet we're also trying to be in the energy of gratitude, of Christ consciousness, of all this other stuff. And there's just a lot of duality that comes in this time of year. And that is for all of us that have lives where we have the resources to enjoy these holidays, which of course is not the case for so many people. However, I want to really talk about the deeper side of gratitude. So, yes, it is beautiful to be grateful for um, flowers, the sunshine, for very simple things. In fact, it is such a beautiful practice to be grateful every single day and find gratitude for the smallest of blessings. But I'm actually going to talk about the gratitude of deeper lessons, the gratitude of the hard seasons in our lives and what we're meant to learn from them. The kind of gratitude that we can only find when we look back at that moment and we see what it is we're meant to be learning. The kind of gratitude that comes from time and reflection and the softening of the edges and the meaning behind it and how it shaped our lives and what truth resonated within our hearts from going through something very challenging. So, I want to start with talking about some foundational principles that I use to help me understand vibration and frequency. And I use something called the Hawkins Scale of Consciousness, put together by Dr. David Hawkins. And what it does is our maps our emotional states to vibrational frequencies. So think of it like your vibrational emotion can be measured. The unseen vibrations that come out of you when you're feeling an emotion can be measured and put on a scale. And that's really what the research that Dr. Hawkins did. It's around this idea of there's lower vibrational things like shame, fear, doubt, worry, and higher vibrational things like gratitude, love, peace, joy, consciousness, all of those types of things. So, I want to just anchor in with this idea that gratitude is not just a mindset. It's not just a beautiful thing we do. It's not just a prayer before a meal. It is an actual energetic vibrational state that we can measure. And when we can be in the frequency of gratitude, our life gets better. Our intuition gets stronger. We have deeper alignment for what is meant for us. And we raise our vibrational frequency closer to a higher consciousness, which is the whole idea to expand into who we are meant to be. So, I want to talk about times in my life when I was able to find gratitude during some significant times of challenge and encourage you to think about your own challenges and where you can find gratitude for the lessons that you're meant to learn. And can we speed up time? Can we find gratitude for the challenges when we're in them, not just years later when we reflect from them? I can't say that I am perfect at that, but it is what I think about on a very regular basis. So let's get into it. Let's talk about gratitude, how it shows up for me, and some of the examples of my life that I'm going to vulnerably share with all of you so that I can be an example for you to do the same in your life. So I'm going to start as a kid because we all have a few moments in our lives when we're a child where we feel trauma or scarred by something, either big or little, but it sticks with it. And if it sticks with you, it is a lesson for you. I really mean that. And so when I was in fifth grade, I remember sitting on the bleachers with the two queen bee cool girls of the school. And we had a Tiger Beat magazine, which they don't even make magazines for kids anymore, I don't think. They just watch YouTube short videos. but it had Fred Savage on the cover. And I was like, oh, I love him. He's so cute. Oh, my Lord. And I was like, oh, let me see that. And I distinctly remember them turning their backs to me and shutting me out and just like giggled, laughed, looked at the magazine, and definitely made sure I could not see it. Like, you are not welcome here. And they probably have no recollection of this experience because it wasn't meaningful for them. But it was meaningful for me. And it was a time that I felt lonely. I felt confused. I thought they were my friends. And I felt rejected. And I went into the bathroom and I cried my little eyes out, but I didn't want them to see me cry. Like, you don't get that satisfaction, biatch. Not happening. But I was really sad, genuinely. And I was in a very low vibrational state of that Hawkins scale, right? Lonely, sad, feeling rejected, feeling depressed, all of those things, right? And I recognize now that looking back at that experience, it was the first planted seed for me to realize that I should not ever shrink to fit into a space. I should instead be fully alive, fully authentic, fully myself, and find circles where that is true. And I think it's such a powerful lesson around where you spend your time and who you spend your time with. And we do this in our adulthood. People like morph and change to try to fit into the country club crowd or this circle or the work people that are the cool people that seem like everybody thinks they're, badass and you don't know for sure if you fit in there, but you're going to try. I have so many experiences in my life where I felt like I wanted to roll in a certain circle. And the reality is, when you don't give a shit and you just roll in the circles that are where you belong and they are fun for you and the people that lift you up and light you up and help you be your most awesome, authentic self, you could be very well become the cool kid club to other people, in the sense that there's like, you're a vibe and I like your vibe. And I just think it's so powerful when we can choose relationships that are aligned and not relationships where we're conforming to try to fit in. Because who wants to do that? But we all do it. I mean, I still can recognize times in my recent years where that is true. I'll actually have an example in the last example that talks about that a little bit more. And the next story I want to talk about is my divorce in my early 20s. And I like to call it a practice wedding because it was a practice. Boy, did I learn a lot from that relationship. Now, I could very well spin that divorce to make him sound like a total jerk. And the reality is, he isn't. He's a good person, and I was a good person. We just weren't meant to be our forever people. He went on to marry a wonderful person. I'm not in touch with him or them, but they seem very happy. And I went on to marry a wonderful person, like my person. But I was in my early 20s. I believed that you should get married. You should be a beautiful, supportive, kind wife. You should put your dreams on hold so that they can be great. And then in return, they'll do the same for you. But you sacrifice first and accept and receive second. And it isn't necessarily that my parents taught me those lessons, but everything in my upbringing reinforced that example. I was raised in a conservative Lutheran school, church, community. Only men were allowed to be elders and pastors in the church. Women were the grunt workers who did all the stuff, and the men got to like kind of be the glory leadership roles. So many patterns of examples where I had this mirrored to me. And it didn't feel aligned, but it felt like what I was supposed to do. It was what a good girl would do. She would be the sacrificial lamb and care for her family and her partner. And I had all of these things inside of me that were like, go do your own dreams, travel the world, experience this, do that. Like, I had so many things burning inside of me, and I felt like I couldn't honor them because it wasn't my time. It was my time to sacrifice. It was my time to give up what was important to me. It was my time to take care of someone else. And I did that to myself. So I want to be very clear. I don't in any way blame him. I don't in any way fault him. These were my choices around how I chose to show up in that relationship. Because I could easily spin it this way. Are you ready? This is like a lesson in PR. If I wanted him to seem like a total jerk, this is what I would say. I moved to Nebraska for him, gave up my entire family life, started teaching and a job. He started teaching here so that I could support him, paid all the bills, did all the things, put him through law school, and then our marriage fell apart. That is all true, but that isn't the whole story. It makes it seem like it was his fault or like he divorced me. And that wasn't the case. I divorced him. I said, I'm not happy. I don't want to do this. And he wanted to fight for it. But I knew with every fabric of my body, it was not in alignment for me. And I had the courage to say something. And I had the courage to disappoint my family, to just be willing to have people be disappointed in me for me to have a chance at what I wanted in my life. So again, he didn't do anything wrong. I just chose to live in that good girl conditioning and I was ready to shed it. I was ready to be my own authentic self and to choose myself and my dreams and my hopes and my passions over suppressing all that made me happy to make someone else happy. I didn't want to do that anymore. And it was a really powerful lesson for me to recognize, how do I live in a relationship with somebody where I don't have to suppress my authenticity. And it took me a while to figure that out. And even in my marriage with my husband, Alex, like it took me a while to find my groove fully in that. Now, was I like, if I was at zero in my first marriage, I was probably at 80% there in my current, in my, marriage to my husband. And now I feel very, very, very sure of myself and my vibration and my authenticity and speaking my mind, saying what I think, not curtailing it to help support him. Like I really genuinely feel like I get to be my full authentic self. And I love that. I'm so grateful for that. But I wouldn't be able to be this woman at 47 standing here in this vibration had I not experienced that divorce, had I not gone through the shedding of all of that didn't serve me and disappointing people and shame and fear and pain and sadness and all the things that went with it to learn how to choose myself and choose what was important to me. Like, what a powerful story and lesson for me to learn. Okay, the third example I want to share is my miscarriages. And if you, I have so much love for you. If you struggled to carry a pregnancy, if you've never been able to be pregnant, if you have suffered losses, there are so many of you that have, and I am far from alone in this journey. But it was devastating and painful and sad, and it was absolutely there to teach me something very powerful and very magical. And I will forever be grateful for that experience. So we had to do IVF to get pregnant. I mean, we bought a house in the burbs, 5 bedrooms. We were going to fill it with babies. We were going to, go off running into the sunset in our happy lives. Um, and it didn't happen like that. And I did get pregnant with IVF. We had 2 embryos. We had nothing that could be frozen, but we had 2 embryos that made it to a blastocyst stage. And they implanted both of them. And Zara was one of those beautiful embryos, and the other one didn't make it. We lost it partway through our pregnancy. And I had a very hard time with the duality of that. How do I hold space and love and gratitude for this baby I'm growing inside of me while I grieve the loss of the one that didn't make it? And that felt really confusing, to be honest. I was like, I don't get it. I don't get it. Like, holy Lord. And I just felt like I was tugging and pulling back and forth, love, gratitude, joy, pain, sad, sorrow, back, forth, back, forth, back, forth. And I recognize now that was a really powerful lesson. And that baby is helping me on the other side, and I've had beautiful connections with that baby. And then we got pregnant on our own, which we were pretty much told was impossible. And it was so amazing. And I couldn't believe it. Made it through the first trimester, told everybody about it. And then we freaking lost that baby too. And I thought, God, why would you do this to me? I didn't even ask for another baby. I was super happy with the one that I have. and I didn't need another baby. I wasn't even praying or wishing or hoping for it. But the power of that is that in that moment, in the darkness and the depression and the sadness of that experience, emerged a beautiful light. And I was able to go to a spiritual medium, Rebecca Rosen. She's on my podcast, season 1. Go check it out. Go find the episode. I can't remember which one it is, but I think it's in the 20s, but I'm not 100% sure. Um, but it's one of the early episodes. I think season 2 technically. But anyhow, I went to her and it was a very powerful experience to connect to those babies, to allow my grandfather to come through, who is now like one of my most powerful team members of my team in spirit. We have this deep connection. And it was amazing. It changed my life. It went from I don't believe in mediums to the loss of these babies brought me to my knees, so much so that I went seeking answers to understand. And what happened was I saw the world in a totally different way. And then fast forward 5 more years, my own mediumship abilities awakened. Fast forward to 5 more years, and here we are on this podcast, and I am, have this beautiful community, the energetics community, where we learn and grow and expand in our spiritual journeys together. And I get to channel loved ones and messages and psychic gifts for people. I mean, so much changed in my life that never would have happened had I not gone through those miscarriages. Who knows what the trajectory of my life would have been had I not gone through those experiences. And it absolutely created a much deeper, richer connection with my team and spirit, so much so that it changed the entire purpose of my life. So those babies truly are working with me on the other side and helping me in the most profound way. And I now am like so grateful for them because I also recognize they aren't gone. They're just in a different form, and that I can tap into their energy anytime that I want. And that's so freaking beautiful. But it is so also powerful to recognize some of the most painful things are there to direct our lives onto the pathway that we're meant to be on. And oftentimes those things wouldn't happen without the pathway that we're on, the direction of our life wouldn't happen without loss or challenge. And so I now can see how grateful I am for how hard it was for us to start a family. So fast forward again, I'm in the corporate world. I'm the chief sales officer of a company. I get hired to help bring this company into the forefront in the higher ed industry. And I crushed it at that job, genuinely. Put that brand on the map, leveraged my board relationships, connections, all the things. And I was able to help them double in size in 2.5 years, like genuinely, like boom, here we go. You are on the map. Let's go. But the problem was that the president hired me and we were very in alignment. And the CEO and founder of the company was working on other projects outside of this business. And so I didn't really spend very much time with him, but I was very not in alignment with him. He was a very conservative, evangelical former pastor and has very strict perspectives about the roles that people play. And it definitely triggered this, like, how I was brought up in the Missouri Synod Lutheran Church. Like, he is Methodist. I'm Methodist too, but I'm on the like most liberal side of Methodist, and he was the most conservative side of Methodist, if those of you are familiar with the Christian faith. And I was not in alignment with him, but I didn't have to work with him very much. So I was willing to accept it. I was like, I get to be mostly myself with the president and the leaders that I work with regularly. And that's good enough for me. Like, you're never going to have a perfect fit. And I was just willing to accept that, it's good enough. But then, like, the CEO started coming back into the business. He started being around more often. Then he got into this big battle with the president over money and finances and all sorts of things. And he let go of the president, let go of the CFO, let go of the head of marketing, let go of the head of strategy. All of these dominoes of people that he was like, either you're with me or you're against me. And if you're with me, great. If you're against me, bye. And I recognize now this is true. I understand that it was supposed to happen, but he let me go the day before he was going to have to pay me sales commissions for the year. Because I was like, why isn't he not letting me go? Like, I still have a job. That's so weird. Like, I know I want to start my own company, but I need this job for a while. So I was working behind the scenes to develop the concept of karmic leader, my company, what I might want to do. Um, but I was the breadwinner of our family. My husband was a stay-at-home dad, and I thought, how the hell are we going to go from uh, this chief sales officer salary and income to neither of us making money and the life of an entrepreneur, which we all know. You don't all know, but if you are an entrepreneur, you know that the journey is long before you start making money. You really plant a lot of seeds before they grow and flourish into something incredible. And I was like, holy moly, how are we going to do that? So I can't lose my job. I have to just suck it up, even though I'm very out of alignment. And I remember the CEO saying things like, "I would never allow tarot cards or a Ouija board in a store that we own, run, or manage for a campus or university." Not that that's something you would carry in a bookstore or campus store anyway, but I just being like, oh, well, if he knew I was a medium, he would probably not be okay with that. Now, he didn't say those words, so I don't actually know. But the vibe I got was, there is a right and wrong way to be in relationship with God, and being a medium or using oracle cards or whatever it might be is the wrong way. And I was like, oh no, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Um, so I kept quietly working on a transition plan, and I thought I'll go part time. I'll find my replacement. I care about the people in this company. I care about the brand that we have built and launched, and I want to make sure it's okay. My heart tells me, there's a better way. And I was a practicing medium the whole time I worked there, but just quietly, like nights, weekends, times when it made sense. And I would most of the time just do free readings for people that found me through meditation groups and all sorts of different things. But it was the end of July, and he called me into a meeting, the CEO, and he just said, "Hey, Kara, just want to let you know we're grateful for everything you did for us, but today is your last day." I was like, "Oh, okay, I get it." And I just knew, I knew that it was time to be done. And whatever way I wanted to transition this was really just for me playing it safe. It wasn't I didn't want to work there anymore. I did not enjoy working for this person. Even though he's not a bad person, it just wasn't a fit for me. I'm like, we see the world way too differently, and you are way too conservative for how I view the world, and I don't want to work for you, honestly. But I needed to work for you. And I guarantee you there is somebody sitting in this podcast listening to this episode right now going, holy shit, Kara, that is exactly how I feel right freaking now. I'm in a job I hate, but I need the job because my family needs it. And I understand that because I lived in that for a long time. In fact, I lived in that exact feeling for like a year. Like, I don't want to be in this job, but I know I need the job and I will figure it out. And I was like quietly working behind the scenes to figure something else out. And that's okay. There's no fault in that. We got to do what we got to do to take care of our family. But that he said, today's your last day. And I said, okay, I get it. And then he said, wow, you're taking this very well, Kara. And I said, honestly, it's probably hasn't been a great fit for me. And obviously it's not a great fit for you. Otherwise you would have me stay on. And I'm just going to recognize that, this isn't the best fit for either of us. And thank you for the opportunity. And just left it. And it was literally like I got fired, even though I freaking kicked ass and took names, like more than doubled the size of that company in 2.5 years. Like, you're welcome. No one knew who they were. I put them on the freaking map. And so it is what it is, And I did have some strong feelings like, wow, that was not a very value-based way in which to send me off. But he did give me a severance, and I'm really grateful for that. But then I was owed commissions, and I said, "Oh, well, you still owe me commissions. Like, I get paid once a year on the sales that come in, and all these sales are coming in." And he said, "Yeah, I know you don't earn those because you weren't here on the day when they were issued, like as in August 1st." And I was like, "Oh, I said, well, we have the past quarter of invoicing and you owe me sales commissions for that. And he then went back and forth between my lawyer and him and his lawyer, and back and forth we went. And they basically said, well, the severance is off the table if you want your commissions. And then my lawyer had to get involved again and back and forth. And eventually they just lowered my severance by the amount of commissions that they owed me. And I was like, oh, geez, you guys are just sweet as pie, aren't you? Good old Christian values. But in the end, it worked out fine. That money is what helped me start my company, like my marketing, my branding, my LLC, like creating my website, all the things that it takes to start a company. Like I used it as the seed money for this company, which is awesome. And I'm really grateful for that. That money actually really, truly did help us as my husband then went back to work in that transition time, and then me being able to start my business as well. So I'm really grateful for it, honestly. And there were so many times where I was like, this career and this job is shrinking my soul, is taking the life out of me by not being able to be my full, authentic self. The CEO got to express everything he wanted. It was his company. He could quote Bible scriptures at us. He could do little sermons for us in our leadership meetings. He could do whatever the frick he wanted. And I had to just keep my freaking mouth shut because I knew, which of course I'm not great at, but I did a pretty good job. Like, I don't think he knew I was a medium. So I did have to do a lot of shrinking and contorting of myself in order to keep my job, or what I believed I needed to do to keep my job. And then in the end, I lost the job anyway. Which then became like such a beautiful experience because the most powerful lesson I have learned in this season is how to receive. And I am not very good at that. I am much better at giving gifts, about doing nice things for people, about giving from my heart. And I, for the first time in my life, really, truly needed my husband to step up to the plate financially in order for us to be okay. And I felt guilty about it. I felt shame about it. I felt sad about it. And I wanted so badly to be crushing it in my business where we didn't need his paycheck anymore. And that isn't the lesson that I meant to be learning in this season. I meant to recognize that the universe always provides, just not always in the way that we think. And I truly believe that I was meant to learn how to trust my husband, how to allow someone else to provide for me as I built my business up, and how to trust that it's okay. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to receive. It's okay to allow beautiful things to come into my life. And I have such gratitude for that now, and such a powerful lesson around not shrinking to fit in. Again, wow. I mean, do you see these repeat patterns over and over and over again in my stories? Like, Lord help me. But it's so cool. And I really have learned how to say, thank you. Thank you, husband, for the amazing job you're doing. And he went back into the corporate world, even though he was terrified to do it. And he's thriving and he's crushing it and he loves it and he's amazing at it. And so I'm so happy that I was able to truly, truly depend on him in a way that I couldn't have if I was the breadwinner of the family. And he's, by the way, being so much more graceful about being the breadwinner of our family than I ever was. So another like double down lesson for you there. Okay, the last one I'm going to share is like that experience of losing my job catapulted me into like the most authentic part of me. Cause I'm like, well, everything I was scared would happen happened. So there's no point in staying in the spiritual closet anymore. I might as well rip the Band-Aid off and go. And I was so scared to tell my parents knew, certain family members knew anyway. But my bigger friend circle group did not know that I was a spiritual medium. And my social persona certainly did not. My LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, all that kind of stuff. And I was like, fuck it, let's go. I'm not hiding, shrinking any part of me anymore. I am absolutely going to be my full authentic self, and we're going to see what happens. I have to say, I didn't think it was going to be as hard as it was. And maybe I wouldn't do it if I did. Can you relate? Do you have anything in your life where you're like, if I freaking knew how hard that was, I never would have started. But now I'm grateful that I did because I learned a freaking lot from it. So it was a huge lesson for me in authenticity, in not people pleasing or worrying about the people pleasing, and just live my freaking life. Rip off the mask. Don't shapeshift to be any fit in anywhere that I'm not meant to be, and just be my full authentic self. And what happened was I did it in such a yin yang extreme way that people were talking about it, which makes sense, doesn't it? Holy shit, have you heard about Kara? Evidently, she's a freaking medium. Since when? I had no idea. Da, da, da. That I was expecting. What I wasn't expecting were things like, Alex, my husband, you may want to put the house in your name because what if what she does for a living takes you down? Do you know the legal risk? You may not want to be married to this lady. Like, how can she charge for what she does? That's so unethical. It's so wrong to do that. You're taking advantage of people, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it was like ridicule, ridicule, ridicule. And my husband had to take a big brunt of that. And he took it like a freaking rock star. He just leaned right back in and challenged them right back and held his own and stuck up for his wifey. And I'm freaking grateful for that. Truly. He's just an amazing human being. And I'm really, really grateful that he had my back in that way. And it brought us so freaking close. Having him protect me and love me and care for me in that way was so beautiful. And I'll forever be grateful to him for that. And now, at this point in my life, every relationship that has fallen away, every friendship that is no longer as close as it was or not even in existence anymore, is so awesome because now I know that the people in my life are deep soul level people. They're people that see me for I truly am. They're people that vibe with me. They are people that love me for who I am. And I don't have any like walking on eggshells, hiding, being anything different than I am. I just am freaking who I am. I show up and I get to just be my authentic self. And I have to tell you, I have never felt more free. I have never felt more alive. I have never felt more happy, glowy, like joyful by just getting to be me. And I recognize what a privilege that is. And I also recognize all of the pain that I had to go through to get to this place, how much surrender and trust was needed in order for me to recognize that I get to frickin' be exactly who I am without having to mask any part of myself for my job, for my family, for my friends. And I am just me. And I do not give two shits if you don't like it. Like, truly. Either you're with me or you're not. And either you're in an inner circle or you're a golden thread connected to me way, way, way afar from my inner circle. And both are fine. But I am no longer going to mask any part of me to fit in somewhere. Like, I learned how, I mean, it was hard. Lots of tears, lots of sadness, lots of cocooning, lots of like retreating. That's typically what I do when I'm really sad. I'm like, I don't want to talk to anybody. I just want to live in my little bubble. I want to go watch Bravo TV shows. Leave me alone. But now I recognize, like, oh, wow, like I get to live my life full out without having any permission to do so anywhere in my life. And I will forever be grateful for that. So, as we close here and thinking about this idea of gratitude, I just want to say this: have gratitude for the easy moments. Do it because gratitude is going to shift your frequency and your vibration. So, have gratitude for your morning coffee. Have gratitude for a random text message wishing you a great day. Have gratitude for sunshine. Have gratitude for a parking spot up front. Whatever it is, have gratitude for the small things. Like, they are there to like help us every single day. But also think about your hard seasons and the hard moments of your life, those really gut wrenching, life changing moments, and see if you can have gratitude for those as well. Those hard moments are absolutely there to teach us how we're supposed to grow and expand and shift our frequency into our most powerful place, our most authentic place. These challenges are their doorway into standing in our power and standing in our truth. So I hope that you learn how to trust yourself, how to trust spirit, how to trust that these challenges are absolutely here to unfold everything that we're meant to learn. So I send you so much love and so much gratitude for being in this community, for being in this space. I encourage you to always go check out my karmicleader.com/resources page. There's free resources there, meditations, gratitude practices, all sorts of stuff in my activation guide and in my Talk to Your Guides on demand workshop. There's so much there for you. And I hope that if the time is right, you come into this beautiful community of people we're building. And I hope that you have the most magical, beautiful day. And I send you so much gratitude and so much love. Until next time.